All right. Hey, we're back. All you freedom-loving boys and girls, men and women, whomever you are, wherever you are on this big blue marble of a planet we call Earth, live from Duluth, it's Centerline Systems. All right, hey, I'm gonna work on that. Give me a little feedback, on demand or afterwards. If that was a stupid, maybe I should just shorten it and just say live from Duluth at Centerline Systems. I don't know. Hey, very stoked to be here with you guys tonight. We are doing part 2, which is really kind of part 1 with Clint from Nemesis Camo. Cool ass guy, cool ass new camouflage pattern. We're definitely gonna be supporting his efforts. We'll get into that, when we bring Clint on. As always, just kind of taking a little bit of time, just to kind of give everybody a chance to join the live stream. A little bit of housekeeping. So huge shout out to everybody who again participated in the charity auction that we did for Readiness Training Group for the school resource officers. That was a great success. That was just before, gosh, it seems like the days before Independence Day were like months ago. I don't know if that's what it's like in your world, boys and girls, but that was years ago. Anyway, and then we had Independence Day. Hope everybody had a great Independence weekend. No matter where you are. I mean, freedom is freedom. You either believe in it or you don't. I mean, it's as simple as that. Hope everybody had a good Independence weekend. And then my last little bit of housekeeping, and then we're going to get Clint on here because, he's the star of the show here tonight. Ain't me, for sure. But I do want to just give everyone a heads up. So over here at Centerline Systems, I don't have all the answers for what I'm about to say, but I just want to give folks just a little bit of idea. We're going to be changing how we do business very dramatically here in the near future. So we've been working, diligently and hard behind the scenes. You may have seen the live streams where my friend Blake has been on, and we've talked about community. So we've got a bunch of irons in the fire, so to speak. So Centerline Systems is going to have some changes here within 30 days. And then we've got a couple other things that are coming up, and some of them are what Blake and I have talked to you about in the past. We actually were ready to announce it today, but we had some technical issues, so I'll hold off until next week's live stream. I'll announce make some of those announcements. And then last but not least, last little bit of housekeeping. I showed off, where is it, over my shoulder? Oh, over that shoulder right over there. So the apron back here, the barbecue bib, which is really my work apron. I've had a bunch of people, leave comments in the lives. Hey, what about the aprons? I want one. So, you can say we dropped the ball. I would say it was overtaken by events. We've got a million other, things going on. If you really are interested in an apron, we can still make them. We can make them right now. We're just not going to do a run of them this year. And I'll explain why in a second. But if you are interested, just reach out to me, shoot me an email. If you leave me a comment here, that'll be awesome. But you got to give me an email or a phone call, and then we can just talk that through. And then on the final note, and one of the reasons we're probably not going to do a run of aprons, barbecue bibs this year, is because what I've been wanting to do for years is I want to do Christmas stockings. And you're like, Mark, you're talking about Christmas in July? Like, come on, man, it's bad enough when people do it, before Thanksgiving. Well, because I've got to get prepped. It takes a lot of time. I got to bit the materials, And I also want to hear what you great men and women think. So if you guys are interested in, and again, it'll probably be a small run if we pull it off, maybe 20 Christmas stockings. But we want to start getting a pulse on it now so we can start getting prepped, because we have to start getting prepped now. I know that sounds stupid. This isn't some giant conglomerate. I don't have a warehouse with all this stuff already made. I don't have a giant room with 100 people chained to their sewing stations, like they do in some countries. So let me know what you think about Christmas stockings, because I've been wanting to do it for a long time, and we're going to do it. All right, real quickly, I'm going to read some comments, and then we're going to get right down there to Clint. Clint, you ready down there? I'm going to come into you in a couple seconds, sir. All right, here we go. Gene from across the pond. Good evening, Mark and Clint. Good evening, everyone in the live stream. Gene, I didn't have time to reach out to you. I wanted to, but you notice I put the picture of the mother we made for you in Nemesis. That was my post today on Instagram, and I just didn't have time. But if you ever get a chance, Gene, if you don't mind, shoot me just a picture of that in an email. I would appreciate it, because I'm an idiot and I never took a picture of it before I sent it to you. Big Visk, and we're back. Nice to see you, sir. Snowshoe Dave checking in. Gene from across the pond. Stockings and Nemesis, please. Well, see, there you go. Gene, you're winning. You're already making Clint smile down below. I like that already. And then Snowshoe Dave, yes, on the Christmas stockings. All right. So, hey, guys, even though you're saying that in the live stream, please leave me a comment. And I know, and I apologize to everybody, sometimes I can be a little bit slow on getting back to the comments in the videos, but leave that in the comment in the video because that's how I'm going to track the interest on this. And then last but not least, we've got G-Dog Hammerspring. I love that name. He's saying, I'm here. All right, here we go, boys and girls. Without further ado, let's bring on Clint from Nemesis Camo. Hey, I just got to forewarn you. If you can, strap in, pour yourself an adult beverage. This is going to be a fun ride. Here we go. Let's bring on Clint, the man, the myth, the legend behind Nemesis Camo. Clint, how you doing tonight, sir?
Very good. Very good. Thanks for having me on. Again.
Well, kind of the second time in a weird little way, right?
Yeah, I was able to get my technical difficulties squared away. Plus, I'm not doing it remotely. So I was finishing up, as we talked before, on that movie. We'll talk about that just a little bit. And, was up away from the house or the home base for a bit. And now we're able to do this the right way.
Right on. Hey, and I have to own up on that. I just didn't know it, this software wasn't super compatible with, certain browsers. So that's a little bit on me. And I'm glad to hear that you can talk a little bit about that movie because I was like, oh, come on. Can we talk about it a tad? So that's going to be cool. Hey, I'm going to bring you up full screen and whatever you want to do. If you don't mind, it's a little bit of a rehash, but remind everybody, who are you? What's your background? And then let's use that as a springboard into the, how you came up with Nemesis Camo. But I know that's going to be another question. And I really like that, especially when we talk about, again, that, oh, you have such a good word for it. The legacy camos, right? I love that. All right. So I'm going to bring you up and then you run with it, sir.
All right. Thanks everybody for jumping in and listening, see what we got to talk about here. Been building, I've known Mark for a number of years, working in the industry with a couple of camo companies. And I'll kind of go into a little bit of the background of myself, and I'll take some breaks and jump in with Mark and see if he'll stop me and ask me some pinpointed questions. But really, so I come from, before I joined the Army, I came from from Wyoming, spent a lot of time outdoors, hiking, fishing, all that good stuff. I'm a dirt bike guy, climbing, anything that's outdoors, I'm into it. And I guess that really segued into all those skills that I learned younger, really helped me out when I joined the military. Ended up spending some time when I first came in, went through airborne school and spent some time in the 75th Ranger Regiment as a combat medic. Spent that time there, and really I kind of had, although those fundamentals of being in the Ranger, the hardcore infantry basics, I really got those there. Even as a medic, got to spend some time with a one fantastic unit. I ended up going through selection for the Special Forces. I actually got through the Special Force selection. I think I got through in 96. I think it was March of 96, and graduated a year later, March 7th of 98. So as soon as I got graduated, I ended up going to 3rd Special Forces Group at Fort Bragg, and spent a large majority of my time in the Special Operations community in the Rangers, Special Forces, and then was also spent some time on the podium teaching. So I was an airborne instructor for a little while. I was a Special Forces cadre in the Weapons Committee for a while. And then I ended up going to the Asymmetric Warfare Group's program called the CAT-C. And the CAT-C was Combat Application Training Course. And within that course, what we really did was brought a lot of the basics that you get coming through basic training. What they really wanted to do was put the cherry on top of the cake and give people a lot more learning experience with shooting. So there was a lot of pistol dynamics, a lot of carbine dynamics, and every widget that comes along with that firearm, to include invisible lasers, all the different kinds of parallax optics, non-parallax, CCOs, lights, low light shooting, all of that stuff. So, and then it culminated in CQB. So we did a large portion of that CQB, flat range and CQB. So I ended up, the last thing I did before I got out of the Army, I was a weapons developer for the U.S. Army. So I ended up getting into, I was one of, at one point, a team of two. And then I was the last guy that retired out of there. I was the NCOIC of the small arms branch. So developed a lot of different things like the squad common optic, the 855A1 ammo, lasers, precision rifles, carbines, all that stuff. Well, I ended up getting introduced to a camo company for a little while, and I kind of got out and started teaching. So I was doing some, basically took what I learned from the Army, took it out and started teaching it on the civilian side, and had a big passion for that. I loved teaching shooting and bringing it to people that really wanted to learn some of those skills. And throughout that time I was doing that, I had a lot of sponsors. And one of those sponsors ended up being a camo company that I was helping out with. And even though I had the end user background, I really started to learn something that I had no idea. How do you make these products come to life? You know, what those end users need, but how you go from concept to a finished product. And that has a lot to do with printing substrates. Whether it be mil-spec fabrics, hydrographics, infused plastics, wrapped plastics, vinyls, vinyl wraps. There's just a bunch of stuff, and they all have a whole different way that they're done. And once you can't pay to go learn that somewhere, you learn that on the job. And so
hey, I just got to throw this. Oh, I just did a weird view. Not a bad one, but a little bit not what I normally do. I sorry to interrupt you, but I was just writing down a note. I don't know if you could see me.
Nope.
On that last section you were talking about, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
nope.
I just want to emphasize that. I think a lot of people, you know, if you're not in this world, or if you've not been exposed to it, you know, family member, you know, or you yourself involved, you know, everyone always thinks the military is just kinetic. And then, you know, and maybe they don't know the difference, you know, the different tiers, or, you know, the special operations community. But once you start getting into that community, you inevitably are rubbing elbows with people in this industry. So I just want to throw that out there. What you just described, that's not an unnatural or uncommon or weird, you know, wazoo type of, you know, glide path, if you want to say it that way, right? Like, I mean, in my time in the agency, we had civilian companies come in and talking to us, and, you know, and we're field testing that gear. So you just get that experience when you're in those type of organizations. So I just wanted to throw that out there. People are like, hey, how was he in special forces? And then I'm like, and then you mentioned, you know, ASW, you know, ASWG. It's just because of how that community works. And you could maybe make an argument that's a good thing or a bad thing, but it gives you, you know, in your situation, Clint, and so many other people, so many other experiences. And I'm going to hold maybe we'll come back to that, because there's a lot of people who hate on military people who take those experiences and then try to go out into the civilian world and capitalize on that. And I'm like, what are you effing talking about? What should we do? Just like go in our corner and turn off the lights and drink, you know, Jack Daniels? That's stupid. You know, what are we supposed to do?
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because it really segues from, you know, those different substrates that we use in the field craft community, you know, the survival community, off-roading. Strange, because I've had a lot of things develop with Nemesis. I'll touch on just a little bit, that you get completely outside of the military. But what you were asking, Mark, and it's funny, because of course, having a background in, whether it be, you know, the regular Army, whether it be, you know, combat arms, and then into the special operations area. You know, when I got into doing acquisitions for the U.S. Army, you know, you need somebody that has done a lot of different stuff. And to be a medic, to be a weapons guy, to be airborne qualified, to do all of these different things, and then start looking at material solutions and dig into that and actually make it to where it's a quality product. And you know the difference between a box stitch, a bar tack, you know what kind of thread, mil spec. The dynamics are wide. And if you don't have the end user perspective, and you certainly don't have the acquisitions experience to go out and solicit to industry, what again, in whatever area that may be. It could be an off-roading, and you're saying, okay, well, I've done this enough. I have enough experience that I'm speaking from failure. You know, I've seen these things fail. Now, how do we make that not happen? So I guess, you know, I got out and started doing the camouflage stuff, and you know, I get, you can tell, you know, if you see around my office here, I have a deep passion for the history. You know, everything from LURS, Rangers, you know, the Special Forces, MAC v SOG. There's all kinds of stuff. That is my my passion. I really enjoy the history of the military, and I like camos. So started getting in. Go ahead.
Oh no, that was me ripping off one page of notes and getting ready to write another page. No, keep going, sir. You're good.
So, you know, that really got me interested in the camo. And then I actually had departed what I was doing with the camo and the marksmanship stuff. And I got out, and I was called by some friends, and I started getting back into contracting for the military. And for about 2 years, maybe 3 years, I was out running base camps for the DoD and Department of State. So I was a senior project manager, running basically what they are is a FOB, but it's a pop-up city. So when they come in and say, all right, we've got 1,500 people, we got to feed, shower, clothe, you know, we got to have a city in this field, and it's got to be up and running in 72 hours. And that's what I started doing. So I did that for a while. Very satisfying work, because not only did we bring, we had, talk about a little bit, we had some of the camps for disasters. We had some of the refugee stuff that we had come in. It's really get out there and help a lot of people. I've been to floods in Tennessee. I've been to tornadoes in Tennessee. I've been down in Louisiana, out in Texas, run a lot of exercises for the Army. So did that for a bit. And what was happening was I had a whole lot of brand partners that I knew from 15 years of working SHOT Show and developing products were asking me where I was at, you know, and I said, well, I'm off doing this other thing right now, and I'm not over there anymore. And they were like, you know what, we really enjoyed working with you before, you know, we want you to help us with this product, but you should design a camo pattern. And that was all it took. The light bulb came on, and I said, wow, you know, I really enjoyed doing that. I enjoyed working the shows. I liked seeing all my industry friends. And that's how Nemesis started. That's all it was a comment that was made that I should start a camo brand, because I know what I'm talking about. And I was like, wow, I do have some great relationships in the industry. I'm going to give it a shot. So I sat down, started thinking about what I wanted. With the main camos out there, the big ones, if you wanted to call them the big four.
Hey, Clint, if you don't mind, just give me one quick second here. I just want to bring up, because I just know where you're about to go. But before you do it, because I think this adds to what you're saying. Snowshoe Dave just chimed in and said, who better to develop new and improved gear and skills than the folks who depended on it in their service? And I know that, yeah. I think Snowshoe Dave knew our pregame. He was just throwing it up there as a softball for you.
And I'll tell you, that's exactly right. One, it doesn't matter what you're doing in this industry, in life, you have to have passion for it. You gotta love it, you know. And I don't work. I do my hobby. I do what I like to do. And whether it's at a printing factory, striking off mil-spec fabrics, whether it's working with, you know, developing my hydrographic stuff, I get to see those people. I enjoy doing it. I like the journey. I certainly like the outcome, but I love being involved in that stuff. And it's, man, I spend all my time doing it. I'm a pathetic workaholic. And so he hit it right. And having the experience to know I look through a certain lens. Nemesis Camo wasn't necessarily meant to be a Shields, Dick's Sporting Goods, Bass Pro. It wasn't meant to be a shelf appeal camo. You know, it's a little, I hate to say this, it was meant to be a little plain. And when I was in the Special Forces and they would issue me gear, the first thing I do is go out and get a couple of cans of rattle can, and I'd start spraying that stuff. And my camo came out great every time because I would use spray paint. And but I knew that because of the old SOG guys that I romanticize those guys. How do they do it? OG 107s and black spray paint. And it broke up great. And at the end of the day, any camo gets better sweaty, bloody, muddy. You know, you get it dirty. I don't care if it's ACU, you got it dirty and sweaty enough, it's going to blend in. So, you know, camos end up becoming about legacy. You know, when you see frog skin, those are Iwo Jima Marines or a very small select unit of Army guys that had it, but mainly frog skin Marines, Iwo Jima, you know, island hopping guys.
I do think, and see, and just to add to that, and this is where I love your background and your passion for it, because like, and I might mess this up, but I do believe there were a few Army units in the Normandy invasion who were also using it. Am I correct? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. See, keep going. See, that is just so badass. That little history right there. That is so cool.
Yeah, and as that frog skin was the first camo that was really ever commissioned by the U.S. military, you know, it was cool. But again, it was who wore it. It was the warriors that wore that camo, that even though it was something you may have went down and got at your grandfather's hardware store to go deer hunting, you know, duck hunter, frog skin, whatever you want to call it, you know, those Marines made that camo famous. And it was the same, in the same sense, the tiger stripe in Vietnam, with all of the LURS, all of the SEALs, all of the special forces. And, you know, and it's funny because you'll see a lot more SOG guys in OG 107 with spray paint on it, you know, or indigenous mixing of clothing, you know, but those people it's synonymous. You see tiger stripe, you think of Vietnam Green Berets. It's the first ones you think of, John Wayne, you know. So camo becomes a legacy. Real warriors, they don't really need camo. You know, if they're tenacious enough, you know, surprise, speed, and violence of action, if that's what you do, you don't really need camo. But it does at a point become, again, synonymous with a group of warriors. If they adopt it, they're known for it. And I really kind of hope with Nemesis, that's where it goes. Go ahead, Mark. Look like you got something.
No, just to your point, the devils in the baggy pants.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, World War II airborne, devils in baggy pants.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep going. Sorry, I just seriously, I could geek out and talk about this for like 4 hours, but I love it. Because you are so spot on. There's so many, and I don't think people get it. I mean, I think a lot of people like, oh, I just don't like camo. Mm-hmm. What Clint has given us here is a history lesson. It's not just the camo. And as Clint said, hey, you know, warriors, you look at, depending on what you're trying to do, you know, speed, you know, violence of action, but there was something about, but those guys wore that outfit. They had that camo. They had they were the devils in the baggy pants, whatever it was, you know, the airborne. Yeah. It's that kind of stuff.
Funny you should, I'll recap on this because we spoke about it briefly when we spoke last time. And one of the big highlights for me was while I was assigned to the Special Forces up at Fort Bragg, they have the Special Forces Association. And I'll keep this a little more brief than I got into it last time. But, you know, I used to get to go in, and inside the Special Forces Association 118 at Fort Bragg, they got a bar in there. You know, and you go in there, and unfortunately the bar got flooded out. It's not there anymore. But the history of that place was surreal for me because I got to go in there and see stuff that I saw in books, you know, only in books. And I would sit there, and those guys would ask me, come on over here and sit down. And I'd be sitting next to, you know, a bunch of Mac V SOG guys and guys that just, I couldn't even believe who I got. I was getting to sit there and drink a beer with rock stars, you know, and for them to welcome me in, it was really cool.
If I can just real quickly, when you say rock star, just in case somebody who's listening, you know, isn't familiar with some of the military vernacular and some of the ways we talk. When he means rock star, he's talking like some badass guy who's got like 3 silver stars, a Medal of Honor. You know, that's what we mean by this. Or the plank member, the originating founder of this, that, or the, like, you know, or guys who, like, everybody in that organization, because these are the, you know, they're the snake eaters. I mean, you know, I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I know that might not, I'm just trying. I know we sometimes use jargon that a lot of people don't understand, but that jargon is for what you're doing right there. We're basically just talking about like people who you just look up to. Like these are just like incredible human beings, you know, who've done things that you only hope in your dreams you can do what these men did, you know.
It's for sure. And I ended up becoming very good friends with a guy named retired Sergeant Major Jerry Levy. And Jerry Levy was a prairie fire soldier under 5th Special Forces Group. So Area 1 of CNN, the Command and Control North. So he worked there, did a lot of different things. I won't get totally into that, but he knew everybody. And for some reason, him and I just bonded. And he would literally, every chapter meeting, we'd go out there and he'd walk me around and introduce me to everybody. Hey, Clint, this is, you know, John Myers, you know, of RT Idaho. You know, and I'm sitting there about ready to pass out, you know, Cliff Newman. I mean, you get to meet the first Halo guys in history. All the main SOG guys, they're all hanging out there. Like, I mean, it was strange for me because they're normal guys, but you get to sit there and meet them and get to talk to them. And the stuff that you read in a book, you get to talk to them about it. Pretty cool. So I ended up getting to meet, and I'm circling back now, back what you were going to say. Oli Mize, which is a Medal Honor recipient from Korea. I ended up becoming very close friends with Oli Mize. And one day, Jerry and they were doing the Presidential Unit Citation Award for SOG at Fort Bragg. And all the remaining SOG guys that were alive, or I think there was 12 active duty guys still on active duty at the time, were all there. General Yarborough shows up. And Jerry gives me an elbow and he's like, "You want to meet General Yarborough?" And I was like, yeah. And he goes, "Did you bring that book that you get everybody to sign?" And I was like, "I got it," you know. And so he runs off and goes and I get my book, and he comes back, and Oli Mize and Jerry took me over to meet General Yarborough, which the only reason I wanted to say that is because you brought up the jump tunics, you know, the khaki jump tunics, and General Yarborough designed the jump wings, the current jump wings, all you know, basic, senior, masters. He designed the Cochrane jump boots. He designed the tunic uniform, the airborne uniform. It was a real honor to meet him and get his signature in a book, and you know, get to take some pictures with him. It was pretty cool. And I guess that's where my passion derives for a lot of this stuff with camo.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been the men in baggy pants. It should have been the men in Yagi pants. That's a bad. It was bad, but you know, you see where I was going with that. Hey, if you don't mind, can you just tell everybody what SOG is? Again, you and I are gonna just, you know, it's gonna be easy for us, but a lot of people don't know what that is. So yeah, SOG, if you can. And then you said Mac v SOG. It just explain a little bit of that history, because that pertains to what we're talking about. Yeah.
So early on, when there was the advisory group kind of segued into what was called Studies and Observation Group, which was kind of a, you know, their clandestine way of calling it. But in the background, it was called Special Operations Group. And from early on, those started out as RT teams, recon teams. And then they just they started getting named, you know, states and, you know, snakes and all kinds of different stuff. So there was a lot of these groups, and amazing. There's a gentleman up at Fort Bragg named Haney that does a collection of books for SOG. And it is the absolute, it was hard before the 2000s to find books that really had anything in there, because that they hadn't been openly disclosed until the early 2000s. And that's when the Presidential Unit Citation came out. They were all publicly recognized. And so that was pretty cool when that came out. But then Haney started doing this group of books that literally goes through the entire SOG, Special Operations Group history, and has a little dog tag on all the pages. You can see every person that was ever assigned to any one of those teams. It's totally comprehensive. I recommend it if you ever happen to see those books. You would love to read them. I think I got one of them.
Yeah, here. I was going to say, do you have one anywhere around you?
I've got one right here.
There you go. Yeah, just put that up in front of the camera for everybody to see, please.
This is one volume right here. But as you go through here, that literally they got the dog tags, and it shows every single guy that was ever in that unit. Big passion. That was one thing that I really thought drove me towards special operations. So to be able to see that and be able to identify every single person that was there, pretty neat. And I guess that's real. I'll segue right into this. A lot of what they did and what I tried to bring in the camo was based off of that. When I was in special forces and I was spray painting my gear because I didn't want I would have a uniform that was camo, but a lot of times I would be issued gear that wasn't camo. So it was like, well, I don't want to have a camo uniform. My backpack's OD green. I'm going to, you know, get it straightened up, you know, so I would spray paint it. But if, you know, so I was a precision effects guy on a team, on a sniper team. So I spent a lot of time behind a rifle, behind glass, you know, scanning areas to look for movement, anything like that. Main thing is attracted to your eye is movement. And so as you're sitting there getting tired, sitting there trying to watch and scan an area, the one thing, camo, you know, up close, if you're, I'm just going to say 150 meters, something like that. If you're that close, no little rock, no little stripe that you've got in camo is going to make any difference. The first thing you're going to hear is noise, smell, or movement, you know? So when you've been out in the field for a while and you start having those heightened senses, and it's really pretty cool when you've spent enough time in the woods where, you know, when you start to smell where you can't even stand the way you smell to yourself, you've been out there long enough, and the noise and the smell and the movement becomes heightened senses. And it's weird if you've gotten to that place where you start almost like an animal, you can hear, smell, and see way better. So the camo that I designed, I wanted it to be big patterns. But the patterns that I wanted in there had to be colors that were legacy colors. So everything like this backpack you see behind me, what I wanted was breakup at 200 meters and beyond. I wanted it to break up well on glass. If you're looking down range, I wanted it to break up well at distance. And again, like I stated before, sweaty, bloody, muddy. Once you get out there and you're there for days, you're going to just make this camo better.
Hey, Clint, on that, can so again, I think people might confuse what you're saying as in the sense of like, and then you disappear. So when you say break up, can you flesh that out a little bit? Like, so people really understand, like, cause you'll hear some people like, well, camo this, camo that, you know, my grandfather hunted in, you know, red, you know, flannels, but there's a little bit something different. That's you competing against an animal as opposed to you competing against, you know, whether you want to call us the, you know, the premier apex predator, but it's a guy looking through an optic. Maybe he's tired. Maybe, you know, you hope he's tired. What does that mean? What are you trying to achieve by that breakup? You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, the breakup. When I try to explain that, if you have a single color and you're in that single color, but you're in the shape of a human, you know, you're still a human in that single color shape. So you want to break that shape up, you know, when you're too meticulous about designing camo small, what happens is that 200 meters and beyond, I don't want to call any particular camo company out, but that color, if it's too intricate, so it looks cool to buy it off a shelf at a store, at 200 meters, it becomes one color. You know, if it's predominantly green, at distance, it starts to melt together and it's just green. So to have what is called clear delineation between colors, let's talk about woodland. Woodland has clear delineation between colors. There's nothing feathering it together to kind of blur that line. So that is an additional point to break up. You want the pattern broke up. So if you're talking, when I'll go back to the special forces when I was there and we started seeing mixing of uniforms. So guys would wear green woodland top. They would wear a DCU bottom pant. And a lot of times they didn't want black boots. They wanted the Norman Schwarzkopf Desert Storm boots because almost everything on the ground is dirt. So, I mean, you don't want necessarily black boots. Brown boots were better. So,
and just to add to your point, It's the same thing from an Arctic perspective, especially if you're working in a boreal type of forest environment. Green tops and white bottoms. It wasn't all over whites. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yep.
And
I just had to add in there because you just nailed it. Yeah.
And that's taken that camo kind of to the next level. You can go out and become, multicam head to toe, and that's great. But you got to break up the human silhouette. If you're all in one camo, you're still in that shape of a human, mostly if you're backlit. So that's my take on that, and of having that experience. I had to break up the uniform, and that was one reason why the way that I did Nemesis Camo, you're going to be able to mix the tops, bottoms, and all that stuff, and the pattern is exactly the same. The pattern's the same between, and that really functionally for printing, it's a lot more inexpensive when you design one pattern and you have one set of printing screens, when those screens cost anywhere from $4,000 to $7,000 to produce screens. You don't want to have a bunch of different camo patterns for different areas. You want one pattern with different color variants. So, and that's what we have. If anybody's, when they do or have looked at Nemesis Camo, you're going to see that the pattern's the same, and you're going to be doing exactly what you just said, Mark. For my snow tundra pattern, you would be able to wear a pair of pants or over whites or whatever, and then still wear a green top. That my Woodlands Wolf is more like an alpine type green. So yeah, a lot of that thought process went in there. And again, if you spray paint something with a can, it's big swatches, and that's exactly what you've got with Nemesis Camo.
And then just for everybody, I'm just going to throw this up there because I may have distracted Clint here just a quick second. But back into that whole, again, movement is, I think we said this in the first podcast. My original slogan for my company was "Movement Matters." But to Clint's point, and maybe he just was, again, maybe I distracted it, or maybe he was just being polite. But if you're concerned about somebody observing you and seeing your movement, animals, we get into a completely different type of situation because it'll depend on animals, how they see. But at the end of the day, they're really looking for movement. And to Clint's point, so here's what I guess this is going to be. Clint, you can throw me under the bus if I screw this up. But think about Predator, the Predator movies. Predator had, that camouflage, see-through. But there was the silhouette of a see-through-y kind of creature. So if you okay, am I looking at a tree? Well, no, I'm looking at the outline of a guy who looks like a tree type of thing. But from distance, and again, you don't know who your adversary is going to be, and if they're tired or what the weather conditions, heat's rising and heat, it is shimmering up. All of that stuff might be enough. If it's broken up enough, that might be enough. Instead of a kill shot, it's a miss, or it's an injury, as opposed to there it is, one in the A box type of thing. Did I take you away from that? Because I think that's where you're kind of going, and that's what I love about what you're trying to do with your pattern right now.
And you're right. And like I said, 200 meters and closer, you're getting ready to get in a gunfight, because you're going to be making noise, you're going to be making movement, and a lot of times you can have smell. So that's field craft. That's small unit tactics, making sure you observe them before they observe you. And having the right kind of camo is going to further that, make you tilt the scale in your favor. And that breakup, again, you better be the one to spot them first. So if your field craft is good and you're staying hidden, then you'll have the drop on the bad guy. And so, of course, knowing once you direct, you hear noise and you start to direct towards that noise and assess what that noise is. At that point, if you're going to close forth and try to destroy this enemy, if you have superior numbers, you're going to want to move straight in on them, because back and forth you see a lot, but moving straight forward, you don't see hardly any at all. So you have to orient and then move forward. But that breakup, again, that's fieldcraft. A lot, like I stated, that has a lot to do with the warrior, not necessarily the camo. Do you know these fieldcraft techniques, and are you going to be able to get the drop on the guy?
Right on. Okay, I'm going to make one. Let me bring it back up here. I'm going to make one comment, and then we've got some comments coming in I want to share with you, because one of them is definitely directed towards you. Okay. But I and boys and girls, we're sitting here talking about camo, and I'll leave it up to Clint if we want to get into the manufacturing and what it means to be a business in America and trying to develop this, and everything ad nauseum that goes with that.
Good
But I like, so this is just folks to folks, right? People to people. I don't have the same background as Clint. Maybe there's just like, what do they call it? A Venn diagram, maybe a Venn diagram. We've got some overlapping areas, but at the end of the day, so whether you're a hunter, whether you're into preparedness, whether you're into hunting, or you're in the military, survival, however you want to look at that, you got to take a step back. I would actually tell everybody right now, just rewind the last 10 minutes and listen to what Clint just had to say again. There is no silver bullet for anything, because within certain distances, as Clint just said, your senses, our six senses, are going to kick in. I'm not trying to do this like, oh, look at me. Dude, I was a private, I think. And I detected an ambush once during training because a guy clicked his selector switch from, safe to semi. Something in the middle of the night before night vision was a big thing. Clint, do you remember PVS 5s?
Oh yeah.
PVS 5s was the big thing, so we had PVS 5s. I wasn't even wearing night vision. I heard that and I said ambush right. And we all just flexed right. And it was training, right? But you are so correct. Smell, sound, all this stuff at close distance, the only thing that matters is if your camo was like, bulletproof, I guess, because it's like you're in a gunfight at that point. Right. So I love how you said that. And I really want people to go back and just listen to what you had to say there again, because that was just, that just shows who you are. And now I've got a couple comments here. Let me just share a few comments, and then I'll let you, because some of these are for you. And then let's just kind of maybe transition to where you want to go with this next. So we got Gene from across the pond. And by the way, I can say this because Gene already posted this. I'm not throwing him under the bus. Gene is the gentleman that I made that, our canteen carrier, in Nemesis, that last episode that we try to do. So this is Gene. He wants to know, when is part 3 and 4 for what we're doing. He wants to know more about, I don't know if it was spelled or I'm just an idiot. Earl, green, and brown. He wants to know maybe what the greens and browns you're using. So does that make sense? Yeah. I think the R was supposed to be before the D. Does that make sense? Ertl, because that's what I would have said. Yeah.
ERDL.
Yep. Yeah.
I believe that's what he's asking, maybe.
Yep, I agree. Yeah. So do you want to address that real quickly?
Yeah.
And the 3 and 4, that's up to Clint. If I can, I'm going to have to probably send him some alcohol or something to get him back on, another time. But
well, let me tell you, Mark and I have had a couple of dialogues offline just between us, and let me tell you, we can chew the fat pretty good. So if he'll keep having me on, we'll find a way to keep talking about stuff, because I'm a jabberjaw when it comes to stuff that I enjoy.
Yeah, but so is there something that you can tell them right now about that Ertl and the green and the browns, and like why you chose? I think what he's asking is why you chose those color patterns or those what is it in color? The palette, that palette or that
colorways.
Yeah, there you go, colorway. Yep.
I'll tell you again. This is I'll answer that question. I want to preview with this. What I wanted to do, the designs that I wanted to use to have, I started.
I'm going to do something while you're talking, and hopefully this will help you out. Keep talking. I'm going to try to bring up a swatch of your pattern, and it'll be you to one side of the camera, or and then everybody will see the pattern as you're talking. Keep going, sir.
Okay, so a couple of the patterns that I wanted to those big four that I was talking about, what I wanted to do was harken back, because in the industry, the trend in the industry right now, I can see it looks good.
Okay, gotcha.
Trend in the industry is everybody, because nothing new has really come out in about 20 years. And we get to go to SHOT Show, and that you just go to, or IWA, you go from booth to booth to booth to booth, and it's multicam, coyote brown, range green, and black. It's just what it is, But even I wore multicam while I was in the Army. I like it, but it's gotten to the point where it's time for something new. But what's happening, because nothing big or new has really come out, everybody's going back to legacy patterns. They're going back to frog skin. They're going back to tiger stripe, woodland, DCU. They're all going back to old patterns, because There's nothing new that's come out. So what I wanted to do with this pattern, and I've actually had people repeat back exactly what was in my gray matter. They've repeated it back to me without me feeding it to them before they said it. And when the fabric is laying out on the table, they go, well, it kind of looks like woodland. It kind of looks like frog skin. It kind of looks like this. And when they say that, I'm going, bam, you got exactly what I was trying to do. Now I'll answer the question about Erdl. Within this pattern, one of the things that I wanted legacy colors that had been tested by Natick, because NIR, that's one of the first questions off everybody's lips, is an NIR reflectant knockdown? Yes. This pattern.
Sorry, Clint, if you don't mind, slow down. Go back to Natick and NRI. Again, a lot of people won't know what that means.
Okay, explain the short person. Natick is the place that they test different widgets, I'll say, different things for the Army.
Well done, sir.
The questions and answers that inherently arise when you start trying to field a new product, that's what Natick answers. They say we need a solution, so we need to try to come up with a capability. So Natick tests this stuff to see if it works. Well, when it comes to camo, Natick, what they do is they have a spectrometer and they shoot light at colors, and they want to see how much reflectant value comes back off of these colors, because that lightest brown in that pattern and that darkest brown or darkest green will reflect different than, and what you get when you hit it with IR light was you'll get a pattern that glows, mostly if you have it on the wrong kind of fabric. So you want to make sure that you have these different reflectant values, because that's going to be an inherent question that's asked by mil-spec fabric buyers. Is it NIR compliant? So I started out and made sure that these colors were all tested. A second thing in this pattern that I really wanted to do, because I do it as well, I get that special piece of gear, my muscle memory gear, whether it be my belt setup, my chest rig setup, whatever it is. And there's this one unique pouch that nobody makes in my camo, but they make it in Ranger Green and Coyote Brown. Inside of this pattern is Ranger Green and Coyote Brown. And
it's you with the rattle can adding the rest to it.
Yes. So the other colors, other than the Coyote Brown and Ranger Green that's in the pattern, there's some colors from Mitchell. There's some colors from Cloud. There's some colors from Duck Hunter. There's some colors in here that we're already, our eye is attracted to, because they come from legacy patterns, maybe only one from a pattern, but it's a pattern that was used before. And again, it's NIR tested. So those were things. Here's another big one. If there's any gear makers on here that I'd like to say, one of the things when I spoke to all, and Mark's going to be able to attest to this one, this is a big one. When you're paying $20 more or less, give or take a few dollars, for a yard of fabric, the last thing you want to do is have a CAD cut that's oriented the wrong way. So if you've got a small pouch this big, that pocket that you've got to cut, but you've cut the rest of the backpack this way, and now that pouch that you cut, or that piece you cut is this way, that piece of fabric goes on the floor in your CAD your laser cutting. It goes on the floor. So you just lost how many dollars out of your $20 yard? Nemesis Camo is zero directional. When you look at woodland, it's directional. You look at tiger stripe, it's directional. You look at a lot of these patterns, they have direction. This has zero direction. So no matter how you cut it, it's going to come out and match.
And so everybody, I've got it back up on the screen, and I didn't know you were going to go down that direction. I think we talked about it before. Maybe we talked about it, over the phone and, whatever, but you are absolutely right. I mean, as you're nesting these patterns, you've got, 60, depending, 58 to 62 inches left to right. And that's how the camo flows, on most patterns, and then it goes, 50, 10, 20, whatever the length of your roll is. You can only nest your patterns a certain way to maintain the effectiveness of the camouflage. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When you were telling me about that and I started looking at it, I'm like, holy shit, dude, he's right. Because I know it sounds stupid to everybody, like, oh, Mark's whining. Clint is not wrong. That's a lot of money you're just throwing on the floor. I can't charge anybody. It's like, yeah, that's the wastage. It's like, and then you look at it and we call it salvage. Well, okay, well, maybe I have to cut off that piece. Well, can I use it for one of our smaller products or whatever? You cannot throw that. You're a business. You can't throw $1 on the floor, no, you can't do that stuff, man. I really like that about what you got going on. Seriously. I mean, and that's not just, I'm old and decrepit, but now I'm a manufacturer. So I really like that from that aspect,
Yeah, that was something that was brought up, and how many facilities that I've been in and different brand partners that are cutting things up. And that was a concern, and it resonated. It just stuck in my head. I was like, when I do this pattern, it has to be 0 directional so they don't lose money. That is, I'm going to be straight up candid. That is a selling point to a manufacturer, that they're going to have X percent less wasted on cuts, because I made it harder for them to make a mistake.
And kind of like what you did, I'm not going to throw anybody else under the bus, but so they're called Gerber machines. They're expensive, so if you're doing this en masse, and back in 18, but anyway, long story short, just trying to get, some folks to realize, like, no, the camouflage pattern always goes left to right. So you've got to nest this in CAD. So, and I'm showing you, here's my pattern, and the pattern goes, it's cut this way, but the camouflage goes this way. Dude, it's so hard for some people to understand. I mean, you're absolutely right.
I kind of felt like I kind of turned into, this will sound like I'm stroking my.
But hey, I'm sorry. I just realized something, and I'm sorry to cut you off.
No.
But the other thing about that is, if you look in nature, everybody says there's no straight lines in nature. Well, that's not true. And, or there's no black, there's not a color black, and that's not true either. Like nature, if you really sit and look through the trees and look through the canopy and look through the grass, whatever it is, you'll see like, oh, there is this because this got bent or whatever. So that just adds into, and then going back into your previous comment about, hey, if we're within 200 meters, well, none of this might actually make that difference, right? But at extended, distances, this is where that comes in. Even if somebody's like, hey, I think I just saw movement over there, but then they've got all that. There it is. I mean, that's going to add and benefit you. I mean, at least from a warfighter perspective, right? And I don't know. I've never hunted like, mountain goats and, like maybe those guys have got such great eyes and stuff that they'll see it from 1,000 meters away, no matter what you do. I don't know. That's not I would love to learn that, but that's not my thing. But what you're doing, I just think, and this is my final selling point. This goes back into your thing about legacy camouflage. So it's not just, giving that homage to those warriors and those units. It's actually taken your personal experience and your knowledge of the subject, war fighting, and bringing that into this world. I don't know. Is Nemesis going to be the next trendy thing? Like there's people who walk around wearing trendy camos now. It's almost like it's like a sports coat type. Well, okay, maybe that would be cool. But more importantly, if it helps save somebody's lives or helps them be more effective at their job or more successful in whatever it is they're trying to execute, to me, I think that's the more important thing. And then selfishly, if I don't have to waste a lot more money and lose my limited profit margins, then I'm really cool with that too.
Yeah, I like to eliminate the negatives and add to the positives, and every one of those things that I look at and think, that is this important? And the reason I think that is because I'm a former end user. I'm a retired. I spent 25 years in the Army. I got a lot of friends that are in the Army. I have my friends now that I served with, their kids are in the Army, So it's important to me to do something, develop something that could be the next pattern. Strangely enough, I thought after, the debacle of ACU and $8.3 billion that they wasted on camo. And let me tell you, out here on Fort Benning, now Fort Moore, I digress.
No, don't even say it. It's it's Fort Benning and Fort Bragg. Don't even. I'm just going to refuse for the rest of my life. It's Fort Benning and it's Fort Bragg. I'm not saying. Yeah, I'm not saying anything else ever.
Me too. So, out here, I went through a hangar when I was an acquisitions guy, and they had 5-tier shelves going up in these aircraft hangars that were full of ACU, and the Army was trying to figure out how to dip these things in brown dye. But once mil-spec fabric has PU coating on it, there's no backing up. You know, you can't dip that stuff in dye. It's not going to take to the fiber. And they had brought up stuff and said, all right, we've done all this stuff that we can to try to dip these backpacks in this brown dye to try to do what the Marine Corps did originally with their desert and woodland marpat and just go with a solid set of gear that can go between. That was the best solution. But they went and made all the nylon gear in ACU. Big mistake. And of course, who was it for? I think it was the Marine Corps first. Then the Army wanted digital. They went to ACU. Horrible. Then the Air Force was able to make that bad decision even worse and went to freaking Air Force Tigers ABU, Airborne Air Force.
And it wasn't even Tiger Stripe.
Yeah, and then whoa, then we couldn't even believe that we could go to a blue camo for the Navy. I don't know. I'm just saying, if I'm on a ship and I fall off, I don't want to be camo. But that's just me.
Yeah, you would think, honestly, okay, I didn't know that was, if I fall off the ship, I want to be wearing orange or something reflective. I want you to see me, you know?
Yeah,
oh, hey, exactly. Is that a Marlin? No. Is that Jones or is that a Marlin? Oh, whatever, who cares, you know? Let him go. Let him die.
Yeah. So it was
one last, and I just got to throw this out there because I'm sure there's people who are going to watch this and whether they're watching right now, because I know there's a couple vets watching right now, and I've got to catch up on their comments. But or people who watch this later, man, that whole ACU thing, you know, I mean, what a sham! What a friggin' sham that whole thing was. That was so embarrassing and such a debacle. I mean, was that Shilikashvili? I can't remember with the general. But if I do remember, so I've got to be careful. I don't want somebody to charge me with libel. Whoever the general was who was in charge, if I remember correctly, I think it was like his brother or is a relative of his who was behind that whole procurement thing. And it was just, yeah, I see you laughing. Yeah, maybe you don't want to talk about it either. Hey, let me bring up some comments here, and then I'm going to bring it back over to you. Look, we're having fun. It's at 56. This is going to go a little bit longer, but let me just get caught up so I can share everybody's comments. We got a bunch of people who've been watching, and let me just get everybody up to speed here. So Tennessee, she's saying, hi, boys. Sorry I'm late. That was like 30 minutes ago. I'm so far behind. Tennessee saying to you, what a very cool book. Hey, is it still over on your, can you right-hand side? Can you just throw that up there one more time for everybody else to see what she's saying?
I'm gonna try to flip to one of the pages that I was.
And I'm gonna bring you up full screen as you do that. Here, just a second.
I want to show you this. I've been collecting this series and I can't get enough of it. And the reason being is, you know, everybody's got those people that you go into the gas station and you're wearing a military shirt and somebody says, hey, you were a Ranger. I served in the Ranger Battalion. Okay, whatever, you know. But when you talk about the Matt V. Sog guys inside of this book, every edition has almost every spot. And you can tell when this guy left and the new guy came and replaced him in the whole series. So what's neat about the book is the series is not only does it have their dog tag on here, but what it does is it flips and then it has an entire write-up about that one SOG warrior, which is incredible. It really gets into, you know, and it's kind of cool because it gets in here and starts showing the next guy that's in the spot. It tells what position they were in. It shows their ID cards. There's patches, knives. I mean, this is the absolute most comprehensive. I'm doing a commercial for Hardy, but I mean, they're the neatest books that you can buy out there on this subject. And
hey, Clint, before you put that away, can you just hold it up one more time and then just read out at least the author's name? So yeah, and I'll type it in as a comment here too. But yeah, there you go. Jason M. Hardy, everybody. Mac V. Sog. Jason M. Hardy. Okay.
If this is the subject that you got to have these. Those are crazy. They're crack for people that like this stuff. There was another one. This is another great book. And really, I ended up being good friends with John Plassiter which was the sniper from Mac v. Sog, gave me this particular book. And some of these things are they're just incredible books. You can really read.
I was going to say, don't throw that one off to the side. You better be gentle with that. Just set that down gently.
Couch. Well, I mean, I don't think I've got it here. This is the one I'll show you just for posterity, because this is probably one of my most prized possessions. This one I've had for years, and you wouldn't even believe.
Holy shit.
The signatures that are in here.
I'm surprised you're touching that. I mean, I would just probably like figure out a way to frame that shit somehow or whatever. I don't even know all those names, but like, so boys and girls, I know this is going to sound stupid. I don't even know, but that's history right there. That's just fucking awesome. Period.
It would pretty neat to be able to go around and ask these gentlemen to sign these books. You know, that I mean, it's invaluable to me. You know, somebody else could probably place a value on it, but to me, it's invaluable.
No, that's just living friggin' history.
Yeah.
All right. Keep going here real quickly. Yeah. Well, Tennessee, thanks for that question or that comment. What a very cool book, because if without that, I don't think Clint would have showed us those other two books. And I'm here to tell you that was just pretty badass to see. So Primal. Again, we're like 30 minutes behind on this stuff, but let's bring it back over to Gene. To your point, Clint, camo needs to be disruptive. Make your outline change shape and don't be a giant shadow moving. The UK had, their DPM, and it worked well, but the new stuff, loads of people hate, right? So you always get that. You want to comment on that real quickly on the DPM, or should we just move on? Or what do you want to do on that one right there?
Don't really have a comment on DPM. I'm very familiar with it. This has been a while back, but the last time I was over in the desert, I was working on Operation Southern Watch. We were out in the desert with some Kuwaiti Special Forces guys, and I found a desert DPM poncho out there, and it became one of my favorite pieces of gear. I kept that desert poncho for the whole time I was over there, used it for a bunch of different hide sites. So cool camo, but again, history. It's the history. Something new, but using things that worked from the past.
Yeah. If it ain't broken, don't fix it. Right.
Right.
All right, here we go. Tennessee coming back in again, saying moving straight towards, or maybe moving. I think she's trying to say moving forward or straight in a direction makes so much more sense. And she's also trying to say a smaller target, right?
Yeah.
If you're getting down there, but like this goes back into if you're doing this, that's picking up. But if you're doing this, that could escape somebody's eyesight, right?
And a little caveat on that: when you're going to Ranger school or you're doing any kind of small unit tactics, when you're probing and you're doing a reconnaissance, you do what's called a clover leaf. So you're coming in on the target to get different views on the target, but you go out and come way back in, come in straight, go out, come back in straight. So, and that's the way you're coming straight in slowly, straight forward and back, so you don't get this linear movement back and forth.
And so I had written down a note. I'm already on my third page of notes, and I haven't gotten to all of them, but because you just said that, so when you think about even light infantry, so back in the day, all of these subjects that Clint is bringing up, right, this was standard, SOP, standard operating procedure. So even if you were just like a quote unquote straight leg, non-airborne, but if you were in a light infantry unit, like that light infantry era, I mean, go back and read some of the books and look at some of the movies, because even like we did a great job, I think, in the United States military of moving away from mechanized infantry into light infantry, which was, really, and even in those units, a guy blows out a knee or hurts his back in the 82nd or the Ranger battalion, well, then he'll come down. But if they can still hang, because it's still incredibly physically demanding, you're in the light infantry. So all of that bushcraft that everybody talks about, this was basic, one-on-one private stuff. And what Clint, you just said, that's just one of the approaches. And why is that? Because, hey, I probe in, I come out, and I get way out there, and I come back and I probe in, because you're doing a reconnaissance. You're trying to find a weak spot, or you're trying to get pictures or a better sense of your objective. I think that was really awesome that you just said that. And I wanted to say that earlier, but yeah, good point. All right. So Gene, he's just, he meant the other way, forgive him. Gene, you are forgiven, sir. for whatever reasons. I don't know. Gene's a good guy, by the way. Gene sent me by the way, I just got a quick shout out to Gene. We'll talk a little bit later. That email you sent me was just phenomenal. I can't tell you, put such a huge smile on my face, sir. I really appreciate it. So just on that note right there, I know I'm kind of taken away from Clint's time, but the whole purpose of this, what we're trying to do here in these live streams, Clint coming on, sharing his background and experience, and then all of you great men and women who watch us live or on demand, and then just the commentary. I mean, yeah, God bless each and every one of you, and thank you very much. Al, so this is Al. He's from up in Canada. Clint, this is definitely for you. I think I just found my new favorite camo.
I'm digging that.
Roger Dodger. Keeping going. Tennessee. Legacy's Big Four produced Nemesis as in offspring.
Does
that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, good to go. I was thinking of Offspring, the music band for some reason. I don't know what the hell that is. So
I know exactly what it means.
All right. Big Vis had a tap out a couple minutes ago. He says he'll catch the rest later. It's dinner time. Hey, Big Vis, you got family. You got to do what you got to do. Murph Nuge. Damn, late again. Well, you are a little bit late, Murph. By the way, Clint, Murph is a great dude. Prior service as well. You would like to have a beer with that guy. Murph's a good guy. So Murph, glad to see you here right now. I got some things I got to run by you here sometime over the weekend as well, sir. So just stay tuned. And then we got Tennessee. Funny how everything comes full circle. What do you think about that right there, Clint?
That's exactly right. That's so true. And like I said, you learn things, you assimilate, you evolve.
I like that right there at the end. You evolve. And then she's following up with, so cool, the multi-directional 21st century contribution to legacy. Now that I do, like that comment I get, and that's what you're doing. And I think that's what's badass about Nemesis right there.
I like it.
Seriously, I just love and you're not only are you prior service, but you are clearly a student of history. And that's just, yeah, we got to have that kind of stuff.
First and foremost, that's, again, you got to have a passion for whatever it is that you do. So you're the best at it.
Yeah, damn right. And then some reason she's saying, we must have made a joke a few minutes ago. She's saying, you guys crack me up. And then we got Murph back here saying, gravel flage ACU was a horrible mistake. Yeah, okay. Damn right, sir.
Grandma's couch. I don't think there's anybody that even looks at tactical that didn't see the guy snapping on his grandma's couch in ACU. Worked perfect.
Yes, that was, God, what an era. What the hell? I think that's where everything just started falling apart, honestly. That's just my Snowshoe Dave saying, hey, he's staying tuned for the next episode. I guess that's Clint, you're going to have to come back. Maybe we'll do this as one of these, and I didn't do this in the housekeeping, but there will be some form of a late night. I'm being a little hesitant. Man, I'll end it with this, but yeah, and if we can get Clint back on and we have a couple drinks and just have, God, can you imagine picking Clint's mind about all this history that he clearly is such a scholar and a student of? And then if we throw a couple drinks in you, Clint, that would be awesome.
Well, I agree. For you, I got a teaser for the next discussion.
Oh, okay. Save that for your outro. So, Snowshoe was saying, stay tuned. Gene is saying, damn, I need that Nemesis t-shirt. I think Gene, Adam, I think he's talking about that right there. Yeah. That is pretty cool. And is the front side the wolf?
No, it's actually, this is, this wasn't really the logo. It's just that I wanted something to kind of stick it to SOG a little bit, it's actually a third group beret on the SOG skull. So this was just kind of for fun. Oh gosh, I don't have them all sitting here. I did. I got a lot of the stickers, but I'll show those at a different time.
Okay. And I think I did it earlier as when we were talking about your pattern, I scrolled down to see, to show everybody your logo, the wolf and then Nemesis underneath it. So seen that, but Gene ain't wrong. That's a pretty good looking tee right there. That is Tennessee saying, if you know, right, Clint?
That's right.
All right. Tennessee keeps adding, she's enjoying nerding out on this stuff.
No.
And then I guess apparently she's already having drinks and cigars. So there you go. We're all caught up. All right, boys and girls, everybody, say thank you so much to Clint. We're going forward. This is the first live stream we've done since before the Independence Day break. We're going to do these at about an hour, but here's the deal. There is no trained to standards, not the time. Clint has just got so much knowledge and wealth and just everything to share with everybody, including that he's out there making a kick-ass pattern that, you know, if you take a step back, maybe you don't like camouflage, or you do you. But if you see the value of camouflage, you have to give this consideration. And then just from my stupid, humble perspective, right before the break, well, actually it was right after, and I think I got it on Saturday after Independence Day. So the 6th, I just got 2 yards of Nemesis. I'm going to be doing a couple things in Nemesis, showing them off. And then, you know, and again, I'm going to do something different for my business going forward. I'll abstain from talking more about that right now, but Nemesis is definitely going to be a part of it because it is. It just makes a lot of freaking sense, plain and simple. I mean, and you can't argue with Clint. I mean, if somebody's got a, you know, I want to see your challenge. Clint, you're wrong. ACUs were the best things in the world. I mean, okay, make your argument. You know, we'll see what happens.
I'll tell you, it definitely, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy spending time with people in the industry. I think I've been doing my last SHOT Show with my 15th almost in a row if it wouldn't have been for the COVID mask thing, but I wasn't going to participate in the stupidity. So I abstained from going to SHOT Show during the COVID stuff. But boy, when I walked back in there and I had the idea for Nemesis, I was surprised how my relationship stayed intact, because I was able to get in a contract with a mil spec provider. So we've got 500D, 1000D laminates. We've got Nyko ripstop, Nyko extreme, 4-way stretch, a lot of those things. Yeah. Here's one that's a little teaser. My color standards just were finished with TWN. So that hasn't been announced anywhere else. I haven't even put it up on my site yet, but you will be seeing hydrographics in all 4 color versions of Nemesis. And there'll be some wraps coming right after that. So that's huge, having the hydrographics with Nemesis Night Ops is what it's called. And then we have Nemesis Snow Tundra, which is more of a, as everybody knows, those are more of a lifestyle pattern. They go great on a tumbler, snowboard, skateboard, whatever. Hard goods are fun because you can do a lot of different stuff with it. There's actually Desert Scorpion, Nemesis Desert Scorpion, and Nemesis Woodlands Wolf. So those are my 2, like a military patterns. And then the winter and the night are just something fun to have to do other things.
And then if you want to just take 2 seconds, so like hydro dip, so people understand what that is, you know. So, and matter of fact, I'm gonna actually have a conversation with you offline about hydro dip. But can you explain what hydro dipping is to people?
So
if people have seen images of sunglasses and things like that, I mean, I'm assuming that. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
This is not the actual to scale right here, because what I did was I scaled it up its full size. This was slightly reduced size, but this is a 6 color gray scale of Nemesis Night. You know, so this was a little test tumbler that we did, but this is reduced size. I went with full size. So if anybody visits Nemesis Camo on Instagram, I'm starting to put up what the rifles are going to look like with what it's called as hydrographics. And hydrographics there's people on here that know and some that don't, but water transfer is the film that lays on the water that you can take any hard goods, sunglasses, tumblers, you name it. If it's hard, you can do your rims off your car in it, anything. Twin Industries, they are the industry leader. They work with companies like Porsche and BMW. They do all the wood grain dashes. They do door jams. They do everything. But so we're releasing now the 4 variations, the color variations of Nemesis Camo, full scale. So if you see the uniform is large, that's what the rifle stocks and things like that are going to be the comparable size, like my infused plastics from CKK Industries to make Kydex holsters, holders, stuff like that. So we have fabrics, plastics, hydrographics or water transfer. You lay that film on the water, you spray it with an activator and dip something hard in it, comes out, it's got camo adhered to it. So hydrographics, and then the last thing will be vinyls, which are coming out. Those pretty much gives me everything to go to an industry show, whether it be IWA, which I really enjoy going to over in Nuremberg, Germany, or over to SHOT Show. You walk in there, you can put camo on almost anything.
Yep. And so I may have like misled it. So I think I said hydro dip. That's how I know, but that's exactly what it is. It's that water transference. Yeah. Yeah. Right. And that's a great technology right there. That's just an awesome way to take a tumbler, whatever, anything. Bloop, and then
really cool, and you can do so much with it. There's just, soft goods, whether it be uniforms and nylon gear, is a big chunk of the industry, but the other big chunk of the industry is anything that's durable hard goods, and you can do, I just recently got a side-by-side company that's going to be sewing all of the tops and all the pouches that go on the sides of the side-by-sides for all your recovery gear and survival gear stuff you put in your side-by-sides. That'll be really cool.
Oh, that's going to be badass. All right, sir. Hey, let me just get caught up on, we had a few more questions coming in or comments, and then I'm going to give you the final comment. We're at an hour and 15, and that's fine. Getting into standards, not the time. So, but let me just get caught up here. I think we left off with Tennessee was saying drinks and cigars. Tennessee, it's been a long year. Yeah, that's probably going to happen here really quickly. So you're not far off. All right, but here we go. Gene, thank you, Clint, so much info and not enough time. You're absolutely right, Gene. So again, stay tuned. We're going to start doing things a little differently in the future. I don't want to announce too much right now. I've got myself in trouble by talking too soon. So, but stay tuned, Gene. We're going to be doing more of this, and hopefully we can get Clint on for some of the more after hours fun. And then we can just have some completely different types of conversations. I'm here to tell you, boys and girls, where Clint and I were talking earlier, we didn't even bring up any of that stuff today. So we'll see what happens there. But anyway, Gene saying awesome, loved it tonight, and a big woo and a big thank you to you, Clint. And I echo that. God Hammerspring saying outstanding live stream. Thank you, G Dog Hammerspring. But that's actually Clint doing that. Tennessee, thank you so very much, Clint. Love the history. Amen. So much has come before, and amen to that too. I never tire hearing about it as we evolve. Nemesis rocks. Yeah, the history. Yeah, it's got to be more than just I'm wearing a pair of pants. Why are these pants designed this way? And then if you add what Clint brings into it, and his background and his passion, that just makes it so much more, practical in so many areas. And like you said, in some of this, we're just doing it because it's fun. You're hydro dipping this, that's not really, but from the gear and the clothing, the practicality, how it could actually help you out. I mean, all of that experience and history coming together into that camo, and hopefully into that product that you're getting in that camo. So well done, Tennessee. And then here we go. Angry Viking veteran, Nemesis t-shirt. He's giving Gene from across the pond a big woo. He's like, so there it is right there, Clinton. You got two people saying Nemesis t-shirt. I like your thinking. I don't know. Don't you love it when people start spending your money for you?
Hey, jump out there. I love it. I'm a walking billboard. That's just about, I think my wife would kill me because I wear Nemesis camo shirts all the time. I got a library of them.
She's like, honey, we're going for steaks and wine. You're like, yeah, I got to promote, man. Come on. Yeah. Maybe I can make you a tuxedo in Nemesis. I don't know. I'll work.
All
right, Clint, let me give you the final, closing comments here. Let's kind of start wrapping this up a tad bit. And what do you got to say? What do you want to leave everybody with here at the end of the night? And by the way, before you do that, I just got to give you hats off. I know you're taking time away from your family. We didn't see the spectacle that we kind of were talking about. Let's maybe save that for next time, because that would have been funny too. That just shows a little bit about who you are. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you want to share with everybody here at the end?
Well, I appreciate everybody hanging out and listening, talking a little bit about your comments. I love getting out here and talking about this stuff. As I've stated, I have a deep passion for it. Love getting out there and making cool stuff for people that enjoy it. Mark has been somebody with Centerline Systems that I've known for a number of years now. I worked with them before with another company. It was kind of one of the companies that I reached out to Mark a while back as I was still developing stuff. And I think I finally caught his attention. There's some people out there who really, really put in a lot of loyalty in me and jumped out there and started making products. I won't mention them all because I'll miss a few. But for each one of those people that have supported me and Nemesis Camo, unwavering, and jumped out there and put these items up on their site and are supporting me as a service disabled veteran owned small business. I really appreciate it. Appreciate Mark having me on here. And everybody here in the States, happy belated 4th of July. Very important to me, and a lot of people that have given a lot for us to live here. I'll caveat on this, and this will probably sink the hook in for coming on and doing a little bit more talking. So there was a movie that just came out recently called Warhorse 1 with Johnny Strong. Johnny is an independent filmmaker. He actually he played Randy Shugart in the movie Black Hawk Down, which I'm sure almost everybody's probably listening has seen it. So Johnny played Randy Shugart, the Delta Force commando that received the Medal of Honor with Gary Gordon. Johnny's a friend of mine, and I was a military advisor on the first movie, Warhorse 1, but there is a sequel that is in production right now. When I tried to call in on the last show, I was actually out on site. I've got a part in that movie. So not only am I going to be in Warhorse 1 Badlands, Nemesis Camo will be featured in the movie Warhorse 1 Badlands. The first movie, I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought it was to be able to be behind the scenes and see how it was made and then see the final product was pretty incredible. And I know there were some lessons learned as an independent filmmaker that's even going to make production better, faster, and the movie content is going to be incredible. So make sure when I'll be putting up stuff on Nemesis Camo about when Warhorse 1 Badlands is going to come out, and we'll make sure that that's announced as it comes out. So you'll be able to see Nemesis Camo on some of the main characters, and myself will be in the movie a little bit. So any questions, Mark?
Hey, everybody. I didn't even know that he kept that really close to chest. That's incredibly badass. I don't want to take that's badass. I'm going to actually, once we're done, I'm going to have I have a couple comments with Clint. Hey, Clint, Ground Fog just gave you a big, applause. That's really cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. So right there on that. So Instagram, just Nemesis Camo, easy way to find you, right? Yep. Nemesis Camo. The movie, one more time, is that going to be in theaters or what? Or I'm sure there's got to be some announcement for that's coming out. Where can people find out more?
Yeah, right now, Warhorse 1, which you want to watch the first one anyway, it's out. You can watch it on almost every streaming device or every streaming channel that you find on your smart TVs. You can find it on Netflix, Amazon, Tubi, all that stuff. It's on all of them now. So it's been out about a year. I went down to the premiere down in Austin, Texas, when it actually came out in theaters. It was out for a while. It wasn't in every theater across the world, but it was number one. It was either top 3 for a long time. So there were some people that really, really liked it. It was very good. I think, there's some people, the guys that like to get on there and try to tear these movies apart. I get it. I'm one of those guys. Oh, that rifle doesn't shoot like that. That's not how you move like that. Sometimes these things are made for entertainment value, but I believe after being there on set and watching what is achievable and then what comes across in the production itself, Warhorse 1 was very good. I really enjoyed it a lot. So if you have a chance, go out, watch Warhorse 1. You can find it on all the stuff if you haven't seen it already. And then Badlands. I don't have an actual date on release yet because literally we're filming last month. All of June, I was up filming. So
that's hey, thank you so much for sharing that. That is so badass. Like, hang on a second. We're not just talking to like a cool guy. We're talking to a movie star here. I didn't know you were. Can I get your autograph?
Yeah, so that's happening, and I think that's going to be. It was super cool that Johnny, I helped him with gear and equipment for the first movie as being a technical advisor and some other things on the last movie, and then this one was, actually a joke was made that he cast a guy that was 50 to 60, former special operations guy that spoke Russian, and I texted him. I was like, what are you trying to get me to come be in your movie? And he goes, you speak Russian? And I was like, well, my wife's Russian. I listen to it all the time. So,
I can at least fake it.
I speak a little Russian, and he goes, hold on for a second. He goes, your wife's Russian? And I said, yeah. And he goes, I got a part in the movie for her. Yeah. So I think not only myself, but my spouse was in the movie. And so it was really fun to be involved in that. It was cool for Johnny to have me come back to work on the second movie. And I think from what I saw, it's going to be amazing.
Hey, I'm not even joking. I'm smiling because that's such a great story. What a great, thank you for saving that to the very end. What a great ending. Like, that's just badass, everybody. I mean, like, that's just friggin' cool. I mean, for you to be a part of it, your background, your experience, just that little story. Hang on, do you speak Russian? Well, my wife yells at me every night in Russian. Yeah, I at least know when you're swearing at me. Like, hang on a second, I think I got a part for her. That is awesome. That's really cool. We're gonna have to do these again. I don't want to give too much away, but we're gonna do something else where we can just have a more relaxed conversation. People can chime in and do stuff. This would be, you got to come back, sir, if you're willing to do. Sorry to press you. Now that you're a movie star, I know maybe I have to pay you a retainer or something weird like that, but we got to get you back. I
have to talk to my agent.
Oh, that's what it was. Sorry. Should my lawyer talk to you? I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
All right. Clint, any final? Thanks. Go ahead. Final comments?
No, just last thing. I mean, thanks again for letting me come on and be able to talk with you and people that follow Centerline Systems and are, like your gear. I like it. I'm a fan. So I'm super stoked that you're going to be doing some stuff in Nemesis. All you guys out there that are fans of Marks and Centerline Systems, ask for Nemesis Camo and we'll make it popular. And that's really it. Like I said, I'll hold some of those other clandestine stuff for our next talk. I know you and I talked, and we can just keep going. We can just keep
I think we did. We're at an hour and a half. I think we just proved that in spades. Hey, Clint, huge thank you. Hats off. Didn't mean to blind you with my bald head. Huge thank you. Everybody who watches this, again, whether you're watching live with us right now or on demand afterwards, hey, check out Nemesis Camo. It doesn't even have to be my gear in Nemesis. Again, the hydro dipping, there's so many aspects there and applications. There's other people doing cool things in Nemesis. Give it a look. It makes all the sense in the world. And as you just watched, if you were watching this, what a solid guy. What a stand-up guy. So what a better way to support another American business. And I'm going to start doing that as well. So we're going to start moving for that. So stay tuned. Clint, if you don't mind, I'll give you, I just took up an hour and a half of your time. We don't necessarily need to do an AR, but if you're okay with it, I always do like doing one. You got like 5 minutes here in a couple seconds?
Absolutely.
Okay, let me give you a ring in about 5 minutes. Let me just do the outro here. Hey, boys and girls, as always, reach out if you got questions, even if it's a question for Clint. He's very approachable. He's all over social media, Nemesis Camo. You can find him. But if you want to ask me, and I can maybe forward that question to Clint or, put you in touch with him. But thank you so much for watching. I hope everybody had a great Independence Weekend. Again, I don't care where you live in the world. It was Freedom Day. And now more than ever, you better start thinking about what that means. And you better start reaching down deep and realizing if you want freedom, where guys like Clint can have that experience and then come over and make a product that you can, man, we have got to pull our heads out of our fourth point of contact. And if you don't know what that means, it's the fourth point of your body that hits the ground when you're jumping with a parachute, right? that's your butt, right? So we got to pull our heads out of our asses and start making some changes. Clint is a great example. I'm so happy that he was willing to come on. And again, in all fairness, I didn't know we had a movie star on here tonight. So, all right, everybody, if you got any questions, comments, you know the deal, reach out anytime. I'll do the best I can to help you out. Thanks for watching the live stream. We'll have more information next week. Oh, by the way, next week, real quickly, it's looking pretty good. We're going to have Brian from Build Hunt Explore on. He does a lot of stuff with Henry Arms. He's a great photographer, just great guy. So I'll have more information on that, but that's what I'm thinking our guess is for next week. Until then, keep thinking, keep moving, never quit. Gene from across the pond, get it ready, buddy. Woo! All right, everybody, be good.